Welcome to Past Presenters. Today, we're exploring one of the most famous events in history, the fall of the Western Roman Empire. How did one of the greatest empires in history go from dominating the Mediterranean to a slow, steady collapse? Let's dive into the key events, figures, and pressures that led to Rome's downfall. The division of the Roman Empire. In 395 AD, Emperor Theodosius I, remembered as Theodosius the Great, decided to split the vast Roman Empire between his two sons. His eldest son, Arcadius, inherited the Eastern Empire with its capital in Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul. The younger son, Honorius, received the Western Empire, initially governed from Mediolanum, now Milan, and later moved to the more secure city of Ravenna. Though technically still one empire, each half had its own administration, military, and challenges. This division would ultimately create a lasting split, with both halves drifting further apart in priorities and resources. Life in the Roman Empire at its height. The Roman Empire was home to around 40 million people, spanning much of Europe, North Africa, and parts of the Middle East. Large, bustling cities like Rome, Constantinople, Antioch, and Alexandria became centers of culture, trade, and political power. Feeding these cities required an enormous amount of grain, which came mostly from fertile lands in North Africa and Egypt. This essential supply was known as the grain dole and was distributed to citizens to keep the people fed and prevent uprisings. Entertainment was also a key part of Roman life, with the famous slogan, "Bread and circuses," emphasizing that food and spectacle were vital for maintaining public order. But in 404 AD, Emperor Honorius banned gladiatorial games after the tragic death of a monk named Telemachus, who had tried to stop a fight. The strain of military costs. Supporting an empire of this size came at a huge cost. The Roman military was massive, with about 400,000 to 500,000 soldiers needed to protect the empire's borders and enforce peace. To fund this army, the empire developed a complex taxation system managed by a large bureaucracy. But as time passed, corruption and inefficiency grew within this system. If the army wasn't paid on time, unrest and even rebellion often followed, further weakening Rome's stability. The Eastern Empire was wealthier and more urbanized than the West. It could collect taxes from prosperous regions, making it more resilient. However, it had to maintain a defensive stance along its eastern border against the powerful Sasanian Empire, which often threatened its territories. Rising barbarian pressures. At the same time, the Roman Empire faced constant pressure from barbarian groups, a term the Romans used for non-Latin or Greek-speaking peoples outside their borders. Among these were the Goths, Franks, Vandals, and later the Huns. These groups initially came as migrants or refugees, seeking safety within Rome's borders, but as their numbers grew, tensions rose. The empire's leaders sometimes allowed barbarians to settle in exchange for military service, but agreements were rarely upheld, leading to frequent uprisings. One major conflict occurred in 378 AD at the Battle of Adrianople, where a Gothic leader named Fritigern defeated the Romans, and Emperor Valens was killed. This was a huge blow to Roman morale and marked a turning point, proving that Rome's legions were no longer invincible. The role of key figures, Stilicho and Alaric. Fast forward to the early 400s. Honorius, the young Western emperor, relied heavily on his general, Stilicho, to manage military threats. Stilicho, of mixed Roman and Vandal descent, was one of the last great Roman generals, defending Italy from invasions and keeping rebellious barbarians in check. However, political intrigue and suspicions about his heritage eventually led to his execution in 408 AD. Without Stilicho's leadership, the Western Empire was left vulnerable. Soon after, the Visigoth king Alaric seized the opportunity. In 410 AD, Alaric and his forces sacked Rome, marking the first time in 800 years that the city had fallen to an enemy. Though Alaric's troops spared the churches, the psychological impact was immense. Rome, the eternal city, was no longer safe. The Western Empire's rapid decline. The Western Empire continued to face severe challenges. With its military weakened and resources stretched thin, more regions slipped out of Rome's control. Provinces like Britannia and parts of Gaul essentially governed themselves as Rome's central power faded. In the mid-400s, another key figure emerged, Flavius Aetius, a general general who often relied on Hunnic mercenaries to combat other barbarian threats. By this point, the Huns had united under their formidable leader Attila. In 451, Aetius and his coalition of Roman and barbarian forces clashed with Attila's army at the Battle of the Catalaunian Plains, halting the Hunnic advance into Gaul. Though a victory for Rome, it was bittersweet. Attila's death in 453 allowed the Hunnic Empire to dissolve, but Rome's troubles were far from over. Rome's lasting troubles and final collapse. Following the death of Aetius and the assassination of Emperor Valentinian III, the Western Empire spiraled into chaos. In 455, Rome was sacked again, this time by the Vandals, who had taken control of North Africa and could cut off the grain supply at will. Rome's ability to fund its military and govern its territories was in severe decline. By the 470s, the Western Empire had lost much of its land and influence. In 476, a Germanic chieftain named Odoacer deposed the last Western emperor, Romulus Augustulus. This moment is often marked as the official fall of the Western Roman Empire. Odoacer didn't claim the imperial title for himself. Instead, he ruled Italy in the name of the Eastern Emperor, Zeno. In the West, however, the Roman Empire as a political entity had effectively ceased to exist. Legacy and the Eastern Roman Empire. Although the Western Empire had fallen, the Eastern Roman Empire, later known as the Byzantine Empire, continued to thrive. It remained highly urbanized, economically stable, and culturally vibrant, dominating the Eastern Mediterranean for centuries. This Eastern Empire preserved much of Rome's heritage, including its art, architecture, and law, influencing European civilization for generations. The fall of Rome was not sudden, but rather a complex process of internal and external pressures gradually eroding the empire's power. While Western Rome faded, the idea of the Roman Empire lived on, inspiring rulers and thinkers across the medieval world. Today, Rome's legacy is still with us, embedded in law, language, and architecture, reminding us of one of history's most enduring empires. Thank you for joining us on Past Presenters to explore the fall of the Western Roman Empire. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe for more historical deep dives. Until next time, keep exploring the past.